All right. So we have this video here, which to me is hilarious. It's from a guy who says he's leading a 20-person team and he had them use AI and he's recounting his experiences here. And to me, it feels a lot like, these funny clips where people give raccoons cotton candy to eat, and the raccoon goes and tries to wash the cotton candy in water, and then it goes like, where did the cotton candy go? And that's how I feel with here, all the reasons that he says where AI still falls short. The problem was all here in how he set it up, the workflows, the approach, people not prompting right. Just goes back to my intro where I explain you need still that very skilled person in the loop to write the prompts, to come up with the technical specs that you give to the AI, because the AI is not typically going to push back if you give it like bad specs or incomplete specs. So more than ever, you need that very experienced person writing the prompt. Oh, and another hilarious thing about videos like this is that then you have in the comment section like people who claim to be senior devs who say things like, oh, if I have to write a very detailed spec in advance, might as well write the code. Or, oh, are we back to waterfall that we have to write these very detailed specs up front? And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? It's like you're a senior dev and you don't see that you want to nail down as much as possible in advance. And, have we gotten here with all this agile shit and stuff that people just don't think in advance through the whole feature, and they just go and implement something and then they rewrite and rewrite and rewrite? Well, but that's not the only thing that he criticizes or that he points out. And he gives actual examples. So let's take a look at this cotton candy that the raccoon washes, these arguments against AI or what it cannot do and what actually happened here. Because one very funny example that he gives is that the production server threw a 503 code, and then the junior dev went and asked AI what to do about that code, and AI said restart the server. And then apparently that junior dev, when the server then crashed immediately again, asked the AI again, and it gave the same answer. And he apparently restarted the server 6 times. What? I mean, that's not even a junior dev. I don't know what that is. But yeah, why do you have a person like that troubleshoot your production problems? And then he says, oh, it needed the senior dev who has worked with the system for a long time and know how it's grown. And the senior dev knew to look into the log and saw that like the database connection pool had run out of connections due to some batch job or whatever. So that was the problem. Like, what? That's like the most trivial thing. And I can't even explain how much is wrong with all that. Starting with, you have to give the AI context, If you apparently have logs, give them the logs. And I always, when I have a problem, I always go into the logs or in the console output or whatever when I'm debugging, and I give AI just the lines that I find that are pertinent. That's not difficult. And then AI typically runs, it finds the errors or error and it fixes it. But yeah, to say AI is useless because you tell it you have a 503 server error and then, it can't troubleshoot it. Setting, to a non-technical person, it sounds like, oh yeah, we need this tribal knowledge of the senior dev who knows where the problem comes from. But the problem here is all in bad observability, bad logging, bad documentation. And I'm a huge fan of, having the AI not just write code, but also documentation. And AI is so perfect at that, where you can, as a senior dev, you write the long spec of this, medium-sized feature that you want in the app, and you give it, all the specs that it needs, and it goes and it writes all the code. And yeah, it might be a 3,000, line pull request if it is a huge feature or or refactor. But you can, in the same prompt, you can tell AI then, and please create a markdown document in this, where you summarize everything, how you implemented the feature. And this gets me to my second point, where he says, oh, now our senior devs are so busy because they have to reverse engineer thousands of lines of code that the AI generated. And I'm like, what? And see, this is like how it works with a raccoon. People see that, oh, AI can write code, and then they don't think that AI can document code, AI can explain code, AI can test code, AI can do everything that's like, cognitive work, except for some, niche things, or like coming up with a spec is still something where there might be too many options, and you need so much of the real world context that you need that senior dev who writes a spec. But everything from there, AI is already so good at. And it sounds a little bit like they're using Cursor, which is another one of my pet peeves. Don't use Cursor and think this is the way to code with AI, because Cursor hides things from you. It makes you feel like you're using AI, but you're not really using AI. It's like this IDE helper that kind of keeps you stuck in the old way how you used to write code, because the interface looks mostly like how you used to do coding in VS Code or stuff. But I'm already getting in too much of a rant. So that was hilarious with a 503 error. And then this another sample where he says that, okay, they had AI write a notification system, and then they let it loose into production, and it sent like 50,000 emails. And I go like, what? It's like, you write a notification system that sends emails, and you don't give it spec about rate limiting and stuff. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear notification system. Anything that sends something to a user, especially email. Oh my gosh, if you make a mistake with email and it sends too many emails on AWS or elsewhere, and like your account can get banned. So, and he treats it as, oh, this is typically something where there would be a review afterwards and a long process after you write a notification system where people test it and they find these things, and now, people might just release it into production too quickly. And I go like, this is so unfair. And you have a person who doesn't know much write a prompt, or write me a notification system that sends emails, and they didn't even put rate limiting or any of the typical technical specs in there. So yeah, it all goes back to, you need a very, very well-versed technical person writing the prompt, who's also well, or good, so ironic, at writing English, because that's how you best write the spec actually for the AI. And we know that a lot of senior devs are actually not good at writing very, very nuanced English, let's put it that way. And I see that's actually one of the biggest problem with AI adoption, that you need this extremely experienced senior who also can write very nuanced English. Because if you go in the comment section of this video, you also see a lot of people saying, English is, language, human language will always be fuzzy, to say something sloppy in English. So you think of really the best way to put it. And sometimes you have to really dig for the exact word. Because if you tell AI this part is not good, when really it was sort of good, but you want to just slightly change it. If you tell AI this is not good, it might erase the code and rewrite it completely, and you don't want that. So especially in iterative development, you want to be very nuanced. You don't want to set AI going down the wrong rabbit hole by expressing something like too harsh that was just a tweak suggestion. And again, prompting, I probably at some point make just another whole video about that. But anyway, so he gets to his main point, which is now specifications are the product. Code is disposable because AI makes it so super cheap to write a bunch of code that doesn't even have to be rewritten or fixed a lot by human developers. But the code that AI generates is good. You just need the right specs. So he says it has moved up where you need those very good tech specs, versus focusing on writing the code. And to me, I have to say, it always was about the tech specs, about thinking a project through, thinking a problem through, coming up with the exact tech specs, how you want to implement it. And code to me was always disposable, except for the fact that it took so long to implement. So that makes me so excited about AI, because AI takes out the most time-consuming part out of development. And if you're senior dev, you most enjoy that part where you take your vast experience, front end, back end, web dev, cloud infrastructure, and you're thinking of all these puzzle pieces, all the gotchas, and then you put it together in your head, just like a big Lego set. And the exciting part now is that you can come up with a big tech spec, and AI writes you the code. So the way I see it here, that even the senior devs put up with the fact that junior devs created PRs with thousands of lines, and then they felt they had to reverse engineer, and that it was all a big mess, and that they couldn't keep up. That makes me feel that even his senior engineers weren't senior engineers. They weren't thinking like senior engineers. And don't get me wrong, to me, even a pull request of thousands of lines is fine if that was like one refactor, one feature that can be quite large. And there's typically a lot of boilerplate. So yeah, absolutely, you can have a PR touching thousands of lines of code, sometimes just, rote, replacement. Like I'm writing right now, like a Johanna benchmark website, and AI came up with the word attack when you run a challenge with a certain model. But then later this grew into so many use cases where I wanted to do different things, from video generation to image generation to longer threads, multi-turn chats. And then attempt didn't feel right anymore. So I say, hey, AI, can you come up with a better name like turn? And then it rewrote everything, even changed the database model. That's thousands of lines, but that's fine, and I would say that doesn't even take that long to review. And again, I don't reverse engineer AI code. I have it write a documentation of what it did, and I always check in those markdown files with each pull request or with each code change or commit. So I can see exactly what's in the commit. I have it there to explain to me if I have to go back later. AI changed the game completely. Where before I would write code for hours implementing like some complex feature, and I would forget to eat or whatever. And now I come up with a very detailed technical prompt. I give it to AI. I walk away, cook lunch or whatever. I come back. I look at what it did, read the description of what it did. So I'm just chatting with it, and then come up with the next big prompt, possibly just after discussing with the AI all the aspects. And you can do something like asking AI, okay, I need this notification system here for my app. I want to send email to users. Can we discuss all the things that I might want to think about? And this is what our app does. This is how much I expect it to scale. These are the recipients. You can discuss every single detail with AI. And so it's not even true that maybe you need a super experienced senior dev to help you, come up with the correct spec for writing a notification system. You can just use a medium skilled developer and have them discuss with AI all the details, and AI will make sure that you have everything in your spec. But you have to ask it. You have to know how to ask, and to ask in the first place. And yeah, so this is like this weird time, and I sort of understand it a little bit, because it used to happen more frequently that I would do something by hand, and then I would go like, hey, wait a second, why am I doing this by hand? I can do it with AI. And maybe that was one funny thing where his junior devs had an easier time adopting AI, and the senior devs were like really struggling. And I can see that, because if your whole life you didn't have AI, suddenly it takes getting used to really, with every single problem, think, no, not go first into my head and try to figure it out by myself, but discuss it with AI, because AI has seen a million code bases, and you've seen 10,000 code bases in detail. So anyway, I totally enjoy it. This is actually to me one of the better videos, because it's real life, and you can look at it in a meta way, and you can see, okay, does he actually have a point that AI is not good at this or that? And most people who have experience in the industry can probably see where he's wrong here. But of course, some people obviously watch it and they go like, oh yeah, AI doesn't have a clue about our code base. AI doesn't have that long homegrown knowledge about how things work. AI doesn't document shit, and then it writes a ton of code, and somebody has to clean all that stuff up and test it and stuff. But yeah, so end of this rant. And but oh my gosh, to think that he has 20 devs that are making money with whatever they are doing, and I'm sitting here and haven't been able to find a job. It's like a bit annoying, but that's just how it is. So all right, let's look at another video soon.